Hey y'all, thanks for checking out the video. In this one I'll show you how I assembled the wainscot and these cherry arch cased openings. Stay tuned. Alright, we're getting close to some assembly required stage of this stuff. This is why I ain't afraid of IKEA, you know. It's crap material, but you know, still, I'm not afraid of the some assembly required that IKEA makes us do. But my first steps here are to get these squared up, and it's pretty straightforward. Just grab a square saw and get one corner good, and then take it to the table saw to get them to dimension. What I do is I like to look for the end that needs the least amount cut off of it. So that way, if there's any imperfections, I got them on one edge, and I maximize how much I'm cutting off. Track saws are pretty nice. They make this part a lot easier than trying to do the 5-cut method on the table saw and all of that. You save a bunch of material. Alright, there's my stack of panels. There's 15 of them there for the main body of this. And I'm going to put these on the table saw. These all have the same width. I have 2 different lengths. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my table saw set, which I already did, to my finished dimension. And now I just got to run all of these through and to rip them to width. And then I can come back and adjust my fets and make my 2 different lengths. Alright, I had 2 panels cup on me. You see this one cupped up towards the face. This is the back side that's up. And this one back here did the opposite. It cupped up towards the back. So I have my concave sides up right now. And I'm going to let them sit overnight. Everything is nice and sanded. And tomorrow, these should get a little extra moisture on the side I've got showing, and that should, between that and gravity, settle these out where they'll be flat again. That happens. Alright, here we are the next morning, and these panels laid right back down, which I was pretty confident they would. They were in an area where they were leaned up against the edge of the table and the fan was blowing across the stack. So this one of them was the front of the stack, the other one was the back of the stack, and it just got more air movement, so it lost more moisture on one side than the other, and that's what caused them to bow like that. A moisture difference of maybe 1 or 2%, but that's all it takes on a panel this wide. So now that they're laying flat, the rest of the stacks are looking good. So I'm going to go ahead and get these stained up and start getting some sealer on them. Alright, here we go with color. I've already done a couple of panels to kind of learn what this stain wants. And this stain is a bear. It's real dark, it's got a lot of pigment in it, and it's very aggressive, and it wants to dry somewhat quickly. So I need to put it on wet, and I need to move fast. I don't want the stain to dry too much on the wood. I need it to be on there just long enough to penetrate. Otherwise it'll come out blotchy. And real dark stains will also tell on you. If you didn't do a real good job sanding, it'll tell on you. One of the tricks to a real dark stain is to do everything as evenly as possible. So otherwise it'll change color across the piece. I have to wipe this off in 2 stages. First stage is kind of a dirty rag, and it's really just to even the stain out and pick up some of the major excess. But because there's so much stain on the piece, it leaves a fair amount of rag marks. Then I get a cleaner rag, and I do full strokes like this with the grain. And what that does is it gets the rest of the excess and gets rid of, hopefully, any rag marks. And I've got a little bit of an issue here. And that's it. There's one panel stained. 12 more to go. Another thing you gotta really be sure of, especially on a warm, dry day like today, when you're moving fast, is how much you're sweating. I got a bald head, so the sweat just rolls right off of it. Therefore, I'm wearing a headband, sweatband, to try to mitigate any sweat drops that make it onto my pieces. But if some does, and I will see it right away when I go to wipe off, I keep some 220 sandpaper handy. What I do is I dip it in the stain and sand on that spot. And it works pretty well for like a bad spot where you scratched it or something that you missed when you were doing your sanding. And it'll help correct a lot of stuff. I'll show you if I end up with one that I need to do, but it's such a risk, especially with a stain this dark, that I don't want to do it just as a demo. That is definitely a last resort thing. If it were a lighter colored stain, I'd be more willing to do a demonstration, but not on this color. Okay, so I do have one to demonstrate with. I don't know how well it's showing up on camera. It's hard to see the screen, but it's right here. There's a little scuff mark. It's a cross-grain mark. I could see it plain as day in the glare. When the finish gets on it, this will be wildly noticeable. So, just lightly sand it. Do not sand enough that you're starting to get raised sawdust. If you're raising sawdust, your sandpaper is too dry. Obviously go with the grain. And then wipe out what you did. And that took care of it, and it blended fairly well. Sometimes I end up having to restain the whole thing with a wet rag to get it to come back even, but that's pretty good. I think I can sell that. All right, time for some assembly required. This is a pain, but it's pretty doable by yourself. It just takes a little forethought. I've got all my boards laid out. Just use a Titebond 2 because I'm only working one of these at a time, and it gives me enough open time for what I'm going to do. And my first one here that I'm doing, this one's pretty easy. It's just flush to the end. And what I'm doing is I'm clamping them just enough to hold to close the joints. And all I'm doing is making sure that my joint here is nice and square and closed. Then I'm taking my 23 gauge nailer with a 1/2 inch nail in it. And then installing a permanent clamp. The glue does all the work. The nails are just to hold it in place so it doesn't move until the glue sets. So, you know, on something else that had this many joints at one time, I would probably consider getting some, using some epoxy. So once I get one in, and I'm working from the bottom up, by the way. So I've got little space balls. This little rubber, squishy. And I'm going to install them on 2 sides. I've already gone through and sorted my panels. I got them grouped together by color and stacked out in the order that I want them to appear in the on the wall. I'm marking the backs of them with a Sharpie. So that way the installer knows which way is up. And that's going to be important going forward. And these panels I've stained and sealed only with sealer. I haven't put any top coat on them. Now I can take my panel, slide it in here, get it installed. Don't need any space balls in this top here. Just need to make sure that my panel is fully in the slot. And I'm holding my glue back. I don't want any squeeze out. These joints aren't going to see a bunch of stress. So I don't need to do the super awesome making sure that they don't move kind of thing. Just use the clamp to bring them together. Of course, this one wants to be stubborn. Probably because I got the camera on. Another thing I'm doing is I know all my joints are nice and square. So all I'm doing for now is making sure that the joint is closed all the way across the face. Try not to have any squeeze out, and this one squeezed out everywhere. Rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. Okay, well here's what the finished product looks like. This is, I'm very pleased with it. Got some nice color going. Pretty consistent all the way across each panel. Everything laid out nice and smooth. So the first three are done for this wall. I got 2 more to build tomorrow. Alright, so now I'm working on my arch panels. I just took my my radius cutting jig on my router and cut the part out. And this is my piece. Now, the main advantage of why I've done it like this is that because I've cut it out and I have this loft that I drew out And I can visually confirm before I cut any wood that everything is like it's supposed to be. You see my layout mark there. I'm supposed to have a 1/4 inch coverage. One right here, I don't know how well it's showing. And then one right here. So I know that this template is giving me the coverage that I need. And therefore, I know that it's going to fit into this setup like I want it to. Now all I had to do is take this, adhere it to my blanks, bandsaw, template cut, etc., etc., etc. Man, it's a hot one today. Alright, I'm finally at the point of cutting my arches for my cased openings. Now what I did, the arches that I built are they're a continuous radius. So it doesn't matter too much where it's at on the jig. What matters is how good these are holding, and that this is good. These are good and square to each other, and that I make my cut at the widest point of the radius, which is what I laid out here. Main thing with this setup right here is now my cuts are repeatable. I can take all 4 of these, set them on the jig, run them through my table saw, and have all of them the same, so that when I go to cut the legs to match to them, I can set the miter saw and get them cut and have them come out the same. Everything matches up. It's pretty easy peasy, I hope. This part's pretty guaranteed. The hard part is joining the legs to this radius. So let's get them cut. Alright, this is my radius header piece that I cut earlier. What I'm doing now is I'm verifying my work. See, I got a pencil line drawn here. This is off of my original templates. So I know that this is my true length, my arc length. And I've got up here on the top, off the screen, I got a 1/4 inch reveal. I'm flush here, and I'm flush over there, because I had a little bit of spring out, but that's okay. They put a clamp on here and squeeze it in, glue this on and nail it, and clamp it, and then let it sit for an hour or two, and then I can come back and I can start working these together and adding on my jams here and all this other good stuff. So main thing I was checking now was to make sure that I'm on my lines, and I am. So now I can start assembling these. Okay, what I've done is I've struck a line all the way around my circumference here so that I know where my reveal is supposed to be. So now I can start gluing. Now I can take my piece and get it on my lines, my reference lines. Make sure I'm touching on both of them. And then I can pop a nail right here in the top. This thing ain't shooting. It is blowing right through. Now I can take my clamp squeeze her in until I'm on my line. Okay, this side lined out first. In fact, it's a little past. Okay, that's good to there. Alright, let that sit in clamps till the glue dries the rest of the way, and this shouldn't move again. Okay, here's how I'm building these jam sets. First thing I did, this is my original layout template that you guys have seen that has my casing lines and all of this other stuff on it. But you can see the line here that's drawn on the jam piece. That was taken off of the original template when I glued it up.
so that I know where that transition is from radius to straight. Idea being to make it a little bit easier for joining to the arc radius casing, so that I have a straight piece right here, and that way my straight can overlap onto the radius piece and help back up that joint. And all I did was I cut a rabbet here with the on the table saw that you saw in the previous video. So now I've got this, and I got it all set up and nice. Everything's nice and square. And I joined my two tables together. And then I put a little cover sheet, and this is my true length right here. So now all I have to do with that set in place is measure from there to this line, and then cut my parts. Then once I have that, then I can cut my casing pieces to fill in between. And this is the end result. You can see, here's my casing joint. Do it this way. There's the casing joint, and there's the jam joint. So it makes it to where it's pretty easy to put these two pieces together. Now once I have it all in there, I can take and square it up, install some bracing so that I can ship it for one, and for another, I can move it around the shop and not pop these joints apart right here. Because I had to do a lot of sanding and everything to join these together. So I wanted these to be pretty nice and pretty solid. I've even got, you can see that my blocking here crosses over the joint, and that helps to make sure, helps to reduce chances of popping that joint between now and the time it gets installed. So real pleased with how this is turning out. Ah yes, the part we all been waiting for. Getting stain onto these things. Been a long time coming. Well, y'all, I think that's going to do it for this video. Got these all top coated and ready to ship out. I got them mounted onto a cart, stacked on top of each other so nothing rubs, nothing shifts. Been a heck of a process. Next up is going to be the island that goes with this, and then I got another set of panels like the ones you just saw, but they're all square with a hidden door. So there's always something. And then finally we'll get around to the whiskey wall. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you got something that you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and all that other fun stuff if you think you got something out of it. Thanks for watching.